Hey everybody, what's going on? Hexlex here with another Master Duel video for you. So I've got some more games with 60 card Dragon Link. I did actually intend to cover some other decks before coming back to this one like so soon, but honestly I kind of can't stay away from this deck now that I've actually gone ahead and finally built it. I kind of wondered if this was going to happen, like if I was going to just get like addicted to grass. Decks, that is, grass decks. And yeah, actually that did kind of end up happening, is particularly this Dragon Link deck here. I have just been having a ton of fun playing this deck. I've always heard from people who play like 60 card grass decks that they're just a blast, and I totally see it now. I understand. It's like pulling the arm of a slot machine, right? You just want to see what you end up milling and how good it is. And it's honestly, that is usually what it ends up coming down to, especially with this deck, is like, it's not a matter of hoping like that you mill something good. It's always with the grass like, ooh, what did I mill? How good was it? Which I think is a pretty good indicator of, just how solid this deck is. This is probably, I think, were it not for, I don't know, it depends how you want to define, now we're getting into like tier levels is what I want to talk about here. Depending on how you want to define the tier levels, you could argue that Dragon Link is either tier 2 or 3. I would call it a solid tier 2 deck. I don't know if I would call it the top tier 2 deck. I think that would go to either Sword Soul or Flaunderies, depending on where you put either or. But I still think this is an extremely solid tier 2 deck. You can very easily hit Diamond with this, Diamond 1. I see a lot of people asking sometimes, like, can X deck hit Diamond? Can X deck hit Diamond 1? As far as hitting Diamond, I think I think every Rogue deck can hit Diamond. Like, with the right pilot and with enough time, every single Rogue deck can hit Diamond. As far as hitting Diamond 1, it would take I think the answer is mostly the same. It just takes a better pilot and more time than just, hitting Diamond. Yeah, if a deck is tiered, like if it's tier 1, 2, or 3, then it's absolutely capable of hitting Diamond 1, no question in my opinion. And Dragon Link is definitely one of those decks. I think regardless of if you're using the 40 or 60 card variant, I think they're both valid and viable, and they each have their own pros and cons. I will say one thing I do miss about the 40 card variant is consistently opening Disruption, which I knew would happen. I said it all the time when I was playing the 40 card variant, that I liked the 40 card variant because you could consistently open Disruption, and as I've mentioned in the past, that is fairly important in a best of one format like Master Duel Ranked Ladder. Just having your deck being able to play to go second is extremely important. That said, Dragon Link is capable of playing through Disruption a decent amount of the time. It does, especially with the 60 card variant, it very much depends on what you open, but the 60 card variant does allow for a lot more extenders than normal, so yeah, being able to just have all these options can sometimes be enough to play through the Disruption, even if you don't have any Disruption yourself. Been rocking the same. Oh, you know what? This actually is not the same build here. Oh, wait, actually. No, I have to think of the other deck I was playing that had 60 cards. I think I edited that instead. No, this is the same card for card that we saw in the deck profile we did for this. So yeah, these games are going to feature the same build here. That's right, because I had talked about potentially putting in... Oh no, I'm sorry, this build is different, because I did put in a second Rokket Recharger. I thought I had changed it. Oh boy, now I get to figure out what I took out for it. I believe it was, oh god, I'm not gonna remember. I'm really not gonna remember, I'm sorry. I'll make sure to obviously change the deck list below to update. But yeah, we did end up putting in a second Rokket Recharger because there were times where I would end up milling the Rokket Recharger, and then you don't have one to pull out of your deck with Tracer, and that sucks. So, yeah, the second Rokket Recharger is here to circumvent that. There are other level 4 non-tuner Rocket monsters you could play over a second Recharger. I see some people playing Silver Rokket Dragon, which, unless this card has an interaction that I'm not seeing, I mean, it seems like a fine effect, being able to banish a card from the opponent's extra deck, but I don't know if it's one I'm necessarily trying to go like out of my way for, although maybe you don't have to go out of your way for it. Yeah, I guess being able to summon a Rocket from the deck is pretty good too. Maybe I have been underestimating this card. I might have to update the deck yet again to try one of these over a second Rokket Recharger. That said, the Rokket Recharger's effect is very, very good. It comes up fairly often, being able to bring back a dark monster, namely like a dark Link monster for more Link plays, is often very, very good. That said, I do see the pros of Silver Rokket Dragon here. I guess let me know in the comments, those are your huge Dragon links, like what you think of Silver Rokket Dragon, if you like a second Rokket Recharger more. There's also Rokket Caliber, but this is a tuner, and I don't think I really need another level 4 tuner for a lot of the combos I've been doing. So, yeah, I think that just about covers everything I wanted to talk about as far as the build goes. Like I said, not too much has changed with it. So let's break it down card by card like we always do, and then take a look at some gameplay. We are playing 1 PSY Frame Driver, 2 Effect Veiler, 2 Rokket Synchron, 3 Maxx, 2 PSY Framegear Gamma, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 2 White Dragon Wyverburster, 1 Black Dragon Collapserpent, 1 Fairy Tale Snow, 3 Rokket Tracer, 2 Rokket Recharger, 3 Starliege Seyfert, 3 Thunder Dragondark, 1 Thunder Dragonhawk, 2 Thunder Dragonroar, 1 Destrudo, the Lost Dragon's Fission, 2 Absorouter Dragon, 1 Noctovision Dragon, 1 Chaos Dragon Levianeer, 2 Nibiru, the Primal Being, 1 Harpie's Feather Duster, 1 Foolish Burial, 3 That Grass Looks Greener, 3 Chaos Space, 1 Dragon Ravine, 1 Boot Sector Launch, 3 Quick Launch, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 3 Forbidden Droplet, and 3 Infinite Impermanence for the 60 card main deck there. Extra deck is going to have 1 Thunder Dragon Colossus, 1 Borreload Savage Dragon, 1 Chaos Roar, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, 1 Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss, 1 Guard Dragon Pisty, 2 Striker Dragon, 1 Heretic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres, 1 Dragonity Knight Romulus, 1 Quad Borreload Dragon, 1 IP Masquerena, 2 Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Access Code Talker, and then finally 1 Borreload Dragon. Alright, so that does it for the deck list there. Now let's take a look at some gameplay. So our first game here is going to be against Dinos, and this is going to be a relatively short game, but it's one where you put out a very solid turn 1 board. I am still thinking about putting together some sort of a combo guide for this deck. It's going to be a little bit more free form, though, especially if I try to do, like, with the grass variant, just because, like, grass is such, like, a, you know, it's such a wild card. Plus, there's so many different variants of this deck. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I want to do this combo guide, but I do plan on doing one at some point in the future. So I've seen some people asking for it. I would like to put one together. In any case here, yeah, I'm going to start with the Grass Looks Greener. We managed to mill Seyfert and Levianeer, as well as enough Darks to send 3 of them, or banish 3 of them rather, with the Levianeer here. So I'm going to get this effect online as early as I can. I like to, in situations where it's possible, again, by banishing 3 dark monsters from our graveyard, we're able to, with Levianeer's second effect here, shuffle a random card from our opponent's hand back into the deck. And also, what's more, we were able to banish both the Thunder Dragondark and Roar from our graveyard as well. So, I actually don't end up using the Thunder Dragondark's effect, if I recall correctly here, because you can only use 1 of each effect per turn, and, let's see... Oh no, I'm sorry, it was the Thunder Dragondark Roar's effect or Dark's effect that I used. It's the Roar effect that I did not use. And yeah, I actually mistook Roar, I think, here for Hawk. I think I actually meant to add Hawk here. Hawk would have allowed me to discard it and then special the Dark back and then send it for Colossus, because then I've used a Thunder monster effect from the hand. So, yeah, I believe that was just a case of grabbing the wrong Thunder Dragon monster. This is actually my first time playing with the Thunder Dragon engine, really, in just about any deck, so just trying to remember what they all do. You know how hard reading is. We're all Yu-Gi-Oh players here, we all get that. In any case, yeah. I'm going for a fairly standard line at this point. You know, the Dragonity Knight Romulus into Pisty into Striker Dragon. This is often a point that you want to end up at where when you're playing Dragon Link. Then you can get the Chaotic Magic, or the Chaos Magic Ruler. This thing has Dragon in the name twice. Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, not Dragon, Chaos. Makes the name hard to remember, but yeah, then we get the Excavate, and then if nothing else, like, we can end on a Borreload here, which looks like is what we're going to end up doing here with the Romulus, Pisty, Striker Dragon. Oh no, I'm sorry, we do actually get to, oh, that's what it was. I had the Dragonhawk in the graveyard, and then using the Dragon Roar to get the Dragonhawk back. Oh, so I didn't misplay. I was actually playing right. I should trust past selects to play correctly more often, but... yeah, so we're going to end on the Thunder Dragon Colossus in addition to the Borreload here. Obviously, I'll set the Imperm. I've got a Veiler in hand as well, so lots of disruption for the opponent's turn. Also, they are starting one card down, remember, because of the Chaos Dragon Levianeer that we used at the beginning of the turn there. So, yeah, them not being able to search is going to be very, very nice. Their monsters are going to be unaffected due to the Miscellaneousaurus, but I think mostly due to that, you know, Thunder Dragon Colossus, our opponent's really not going to be able to do much here because this, yeah, this has to add something in order, the evolution pill. This has to add the evolution pill in order to continue the combo there. So with the Thunder Dragon Colossus on board, they're just not able to make any more plays. And even though we can't negate their stuff, that by itself ended the game right there. That's also another reason why I wanted to show this game, because it shows off the usefulness of Thunder Dragon Colossus and why I like this engine a lot. Because, like, it's true that the Dragon Maid engine does allow for more, like, extensions for combos and stuff. It makes it easier to start up an initial play, but I like having the Thunder Dragons as an add-on to the plays, because I feel like we already have an easy enough time making plays. And so by tacking on that Thunder Dragon Colossus right at the end, we can secure game in a lot of situations where we might not have been able to otherwise, like this one here. So, alright, that shows that game, or that is that for that game, rather, there. Now let's go ahead and show the next one. Next game here is going to be against Branded Despia. Rather interesting build. It was playing 3 Lightning Storms, which, God, I haven't seen a deck playing 3 Lightning Storms in quite some time. It's a bold move, but we are going to be taking the second turn here. Opening up with a Grass, so that's good. We also have a Crossout Designator and a Feather Duster, so even though I'm going second, I'm like, okay, at least I've got some amount of tools to work with here. Opponent's going to start by Foolishing the Tragedy for the Ad Libitum, which is kind of confusing at first, but then they go for the Lost and the Aliber, and I'm like, okay, so they actually just had everything. I guess just getting the Foolish out of the hand there. And then fusing the Aliber and Ad Libitum for the Masquerade, I believe. It's funny, at first I was really wondering what they were doing. I was like, what is this line? This line looks really weird, especially activating Ad Libitum here, but it actually ends up being a very solid play. It's interesting, I haven't seen many people running Branded Lost, or rather, I hadn't seen many people running Branded Lost for quite a while, even after the deck first came out, and this is probably just, you know, variance in the few games I happen to have been playing lately, but lately I've been seeing a lot more Branded Despia decks jamming Branded Lost. Kind of makes me reconsider playing it again, but, who knows? Maybe we'll revisit the idea of playing this card when we come back to the deck again, but... Anyway, yeah, opponent's going to drop a Mirror Jade, and so, even though their line did look a little bit weird, it does still end them on the Masquerade plus Mirror Jade plus the, the Branded in Red setup, and they didn't have to use the Fright for Engine in order to do it. Usually for that kind of setup, with the quote-unquote standard build, and maybe they are playing the Fright for Engine, they just didn't draw it, but being able to do that without the Fright for Engine is pretty nice. And they also set up a Despian Comedy in the graveyard as well, which is another nice little addition that they got there. So, alright, looking at my hand here, I'm definitely going to lead with the Feather Duster to force the face-down Branded in Red. I don't want to get Guardian Chimera. However, this is going to end up presenting another problem for me that I thought about, of course, as soon as the Branded in Red was resolving. And I'm like, well, if they don't get Guardian Chimera, what do they get? And I'm like, oh, crap, they get another Masquerade, don't they? And being taxed 1,200 life points per effect as a Dragon Link deck is really, really scary because, you know, naturally we use a lot, and I mean a lot of effects in order to, you know, achieve our plays. Plus, we do still have this Mirror Jade to think about as well, so we're going to have to try to get rid of these Masquerades and play around the Mirror Jade. I'm definitely going to lead with the Grass. The effect is obviously worth 1,200 life points. That's another thing I kind of got to consider here too, is like, you know, trying to figure out what effects are worth paying the tax. They should be effects that lead towards getting these Masquerades off the board. So let's see what we milled with the Grass here. There's a Thunder Dragondark, that's nice. Fairy Tale Snow is very nice, being able to put monsters face down. That's actually going to be my main plan here, is to start by using Fairy Tale Snow to try to put these face down. We also, I think, if I recall correctly, was this the game? Because I see 2 Rokket Tracers here. No, okay, there was a game, I think, at some point here where I actually milled all 3 of my Rokket Tracers, but no, there's just 2 of them here. We also milled a Thunder Dragonroar, so nice to have those Thunder Dragons in the graveyard. Yeah, I'm going to start by activating Fairy Tale Snow, like I mentioned, banishing 7 cards. I want to get these, one of these face down, one of these Masquerades here. The opponent's got a Mercurier, which really sucks, because, like, it's not going to stop my Fairy Tale Snow, but it is going to cost me another 1,200 life points that I really can't afford to be spending here. I actually think that There were a couple of different things that ended up really hurting me this game. This Recharger was absolutely the first one, though. Just making me pay into the 1200 life points and really reducing the number of effects I can use this turn is really going to hurt. It took 2 effects off, basically. Like, if you want to think about it that way, because I am going to get down to, like, only 200 life points here by the time I'm able to deal with these Masquerades. So, in a way, that Recharger, in response to the snow, even though it didn't stop the snow, stopped me from using 2 monster effects this turn. Which is scary. It's very scary. My plan is to basically just try to go for Nightmare Unicorn. This whole time I'm just waiting for my opponent to fire off this Mirror Jade, and they're not. And at first I was like, okay, this is fine, I at least get to do stuff. But at this point in the game, I'm like kind of frustrated now. I'm like, I want my opponent to Mirror Jade already, because like, I want this done and over with. I really debated whether or not to draw with that Noctovision, by the way, but I decided, you know what, I have enough life points to pay for one more effect before this Masquerade leaves the board, so I'll go ahead and draw one more card. Just trying to go for game this turn. Not just deal with the board, but also very much trying to win the duel this turn. The problem with going into access code here, too, because you might be thinking like, oh, you can just go into access code to win, right? The problem with kind of access code in general with this deck is that you have, like, almost entirely Dark Link monsters. I didn't use a Romulus this turn, so I don't have an additional Destruction. Neither did I use a Seal either. So these are the only 2 non-Dark, like, extract monsters we have. So you really only get to pop, like, 1 card per turn with access code in this deck, which is a little unfortunate. And I do need to win this turn if I am going to try to end the... Well, if I want to try to establish a board and answer theirs, I do need to also actually win this turn because of the Mirror Jade effect. Anything I don't... Rather, anything that's going to be left on the board at the end phase is going to get destroyed. So I need to make sure there's, you know, not an end phase. Now, fortunately, I actually haven't added Boot Sector Launch yet, so with Striker Dragon, I not only get to add that, but also add the Recharger back to my hand, so I do have 2 cards I can actually summon with the Recharger, or with the Boot Sector Launch, the Recharger and the Rokket Synchron. So I'm going to start by trying to go for a Borreload. At this point, my opponent's gone so long without using Mirror Jade. I'm wondering if they're AFK, but no, they were actually just like the most patient player in the world. Props to you, Gamer Jerry, because I have to applaud your use of Mirror Jade here. Waiting for the Borreload at the end there was like, it was really frustrating in the moment when I was actually playing this game, but like, you know, here after the fact, I'm like, wow, that was actually very solid. Well done. Give you a little golf clap there. But and then of course to draw Droplet, like, you know, when it's too late. But I can at least use Droplet to stop the Mirror Jade from wiping my board during my turn. So I'm basically just going to try to answer as much of their board as possible here, and just hope I don't die. I only have 200 life points left, so that's probably not going to happen. Also sucks that the Levianeer can't attack here, so I have to leave them with just a Comedy and the face down Masquerade. But then of course I remember like, oh yeah, Albion. Oh yeah, Branded Fusion. Oh yeah, no, I'm just going to lose here. And yeah, this does actually end up being a loss here, but it was still a nice solid back and forth. And again, I wanted to show and applaud my opponent Gamer Jerry here for their use of Mirror Jade, their very patient use of Mirror Jade. I don't know, I can actually very confidently say that I would not have been that patient with the Mirror Jade, but like, it goes to show it is very much worth, like, you know, being very scrutinous sometimes with, like, do I need to use this disruption? Like, looking at the board state, looking at what your opponent is threatening you with, and deciding, like, is this actually a threat? Like, do I need to address this right now, or can I wait for a bigger threat later? So, yeah, once the Masquerade gets flipped up, that is, of course, going to be lethal. They can just crash the Mirror Jade into my Levianeer and then attack me for game with the Masquerade. So, GG's, Jerry. Thank you very much for the awesome game there. And, yeah, let's go ahead and go into the next one. Next game here is against Sky Striker. Been running into a lot, not a lot, but like more Sky Strikers than normal lately. Again, could very easily just be variants, but I don't normally like to attribute small phenomena like that to like anything in particular. I'm not like, oh, Sky Striker must be on the rise, because like, you know, one thing we have to remember when, you know, thinking in, you know, terms of like our own games and trying to figure out what the actual Master Duel experience is like versus just our experience. It pays to be mindful to not fall into that kind of like mental fallacy of like, oh, I played against like 3 Sky Strikers in a row, so everybody must be playing Sky Strikers. it's not, that's not necessarily the case. It's actually more likely that you just happen to have played 3 Sky Striker decks in a row when you consider how many people are playing Master Duel. Like, the overall likelihood of that, which is higher than which is like low, yes, but probably still higher than you might think it is. And then, just so on and so forth. It always pays to be mindful of just those variables and those statistics there. That's why I like to reference, when I'm thinking about stuff like the meta and stuff like, what it actually looks like. I like to reference data that uses like multiple, like many different sources of data, not just a few. In any case, our opponent's going to Maxx, and I'm just going to be done after that, because this is very obviously one of those decks where, Maxx is just it's going to be a turn ender, because there's no making plays in this deck without letting our opponent draw like at least 5 cards. And we also continue somewhat of a trend I've noticed with the Sky Striker players lately. Like, why send the maneuver, the jamming signal here, jamming waves? I don't understand the send at all. Would you not want to send engage and go for Kagiri and then bring it back? Like, the engage isn't in hand, right? You would have played it otherwise. They didn't play either of them. And, I mean, I guess maybe they just wanted to... But why would you want to add on the Shizuku, though? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand. But, in any case, yeah. Even though my opponent's only got 1 back row, I'll flip the... activate the Harpie's Feather Duster here. They're going to call by the Thunder Dragondark, which is actually a pretty good hit. If you're going to hit 1 card in my graveyard with a call by... let me actually see if that's the one to hit. No, you know what? I do have... Oh, this was the game I sent all 3 Rokket Tracers. Huh. I was going to say you should hit a Rokket Tracer, but if I've already got all 3 in graveyard, then yeah, I think it makes more sense to hit the Thunder Dragondark here. So that was a good hit on my opponent's part. But anyway, now I'm just going to more or less pick up my combo where I left it off last turn after Maxx. It's actually a bit nicer here, because now... Since I summoned the Light Pulsar last turn, I can summon another one this turn. So now I actually get the full chain of the 3, right? Where I summoned Light Pulsar last turn, I send it for Striker Dragon this turn. Then I get the Collapserpent, and I can send that for Wyverburster. And then I can summon the Wyverburster this turn as well. As you can see, I went for the Chaos Dragon Levianeer here. Like I've mentioned in the past, I like to go for this card as early as possible. If I can take out a card from the opponent's hand to get rid of some disruption. I did see my opponent was getting prompts to respond. And the fact that they were getting them pretty consistently only after I summoned... Well, I guess I already had a monster on the board. Long story short, I was pretty confident my opponent had a Veiler or an Imperm just based on how they were getting prompts to respond. So, and plus it's also Sky Striker, they're probably going to have a lot of disruption in hand, so being able to disrupt that is nice. So they did decide to negate the Levianeer with a Veiler here, and I wanted to pause real quick just to say I don't think that was right, actually. Maybe they were worried about me hitting the engage, but with only a Shizuku on the field, you should definitely worry about like surviving this turn more than anything else. And I think it was probably right to let me put a random card back, because then I only have a... Think of it this way, right? Like, it might seem like, oh, they're going to hit a card from my hand anyway, and they might hit this Veiler. I guess I'll just Veiler now. But there's no reason to do that, because if in that case, I hit Veiler 100% of the time. If you just let me use Levianeer's effect, I only hit Veiler 25% of the time. So, just want to say I think my opponent probably shouldn't have used Veiler. Now, maybe if they had another piece of disruption like Nibiru or something in hand that they were holding, then yes, I absolutely think you would Veiler there. But yeah, I don't think they do from what I remember. I'm pretty sure this board doesn't end up getting disrupted from this point on, so... Alright, so yeah, I'm just gonna go for Romulus, adding the Ravine. I can send the Destrudo here, because by discarding the Absorouter, I get the... I thought I got the effect, but I guess I don't. Oh, I didn't have anything to add, that's right, because all of my Rokket monsters are in my graveyard. Yeah, it wasn't just the Tracer, if I recall correctly. I think I ended up milling, like, all of my Rokket monsters here. There's Recharger. Oh, I banished a lot of stuff, too, that's right. Yeah, there's Tracer, there's Synchron. Okay, maybe... Oh, no, Synchron's right here. So I think that was all... Oh, this game might have been from before I actually added that other Recharger, now that I think about it. So that might have actually been all of my Rokket monsters there, which is why I didn't add one with the Absorouter. Or maybe I already used the Absorouter this turn. I don't remember. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to negate the Shizuku to bring back the Tracer. Not that I actually need to negate Shizuku, but I get more combo extension by doing so. And then at that point, the opponent finally concedes and gives me the win there. you know, I did still... Well, actually, I don't know that I really still had more plays. I was going to say the quick launch in hand, but then I just talked about how I don't have any rocket monsters left in my deck, so that actually doesn't really do a whole lot, but we didn't need to do any more there. So, yeah, I got another game to show you. Let's jump straight into it. Alright, this last duel here is going to end up being against Dinomorphia, which I don't think I've played against on regular ladder yet. Because obviously we saw it a fair bit in the Anti-Spell Festival because it was one of the loner decks, and then we saw it in a very recent viewer special as well, but I don't think I've actually played against it on like regular ranked ladder yet. So this, I think, I don't remember it. I really don't. In any case here, so this opening hand looks a little bit awkward at first, but it's still got plays. We can use the quick launch for the Tracer, and then special the Destrudo. That'll let us go into the Striker, and then will also allow us to have another dragon on board to go into Romulus. So this is a lot of the ways that you do start your plays as Dragon Link, is going into Striker for the boot sector launch, and then Romulus for the Ravine. Usually if you can get that set up, you more or less will have plays for the rest of the turn, because you can Ravine to send Absorouter, Absorouter to add a Tracer, you can play the boot sector launch, or sometimes even a Rokket Synchron as well, in order to summon the Absorouter back. You do have multiple options there. And just note that the Rokket Synchron is going to lock you into dark effects, or dark summons for the rest of the turn there. So you just be mindful of that. Okay, so actually I want to talk about placement a little bit here. Shoot, I really wish there was a rewind button on replays, but the way I had things placed with the Light Pulsar here, the Thunder Dragondark here, and then Synchron and Absorouter here, basically I'm trying to go for my like Striker here, Pisty here, this zone free setup, but the way that I ended up placing things was a little bit awkward. What I should have done was place the Thunder Dragondark here, and then the Wyverburster, basically the Wyverburster should have been here or here. Thunder Dragondark should have been here. Then I could have placed Rokket Synchron in the other empty slot, placed the Absorouter here, and had the middle zone open. But because I didn't do that, I have to make some like slightly awkward plays here. I'm still going to be able to do that regular setup. I just have to play it a little bit differently. I'm going to start by using the Wyverburster to go for the Striker Dragon. That'll let me add the Collapserpent. Then I'm going to sync for the Chaos Roller, the Chaotic Magical Dragon. So with the Collapserpent and those zones now open, now I can go ahead and go for that combo. This might have actually even been the right play anyway. I don't know. Again, that's always the thing with Dragon Link, right? Is like there's so many different variants of like, I feel like not just like lines in general, but like every single hand you have, I feel like has usually multiple, like at least 3 or 4 different paths you can take with it. I guess to be fair, that's actually true for a lot of decks, not just this one, but it's just, again, how freeform this deck is, which is cool. Like, at first it was definitely something about it that intimidated me, but I think now it's something that's just very cool about the deck. Alright, so yeah, we actually haven't used Rokket Tracer's effect yet this turn, so we can set up a Borreload Savage Dragon here. We can just set up a lot of negates here, basically. We're going to be able to get a Colossus on board, because we got the Thunder Dragonhawk in hand, and then because of Boot Sector Launch and Rokket Synchron, we can actually throw down a hot Red Dragon or Chained Abyss here as well. So wanted to show this game off as the last game here, because we just opened, like, so disgustingly good. This is probably one of the, like, better hands I could open, and it was also like with an awkward opening too, like a relatively awkward opening. Again, when I opened this hand, my first thought was like, oh god, what can I do with this? But then I realized like, oh wait, quick launch plus Destrudo. No, I've got plays here. So I think one of the best skills you can develop when it comes to comboing with this deck isn't even about memorizing lines, but just like knowing how to get to certain points of the combo. And I think that's what I'm going to focus on more than anything else when I do the combo guide for this deck, is like, we're not going to talk about what, like, you know, open with this, get this. We'll do maybe a little bit of that, but I think it's going to be more like, okay, here are the different steps that you more or less need to get to. There's a lot of different ways to get to them. Let's talk about how to recognize that. And I think developing that skill is not only good for a deck like this, but it's good for playing overall. Because, like, if you're playing any combo-based deck, even one that's got, like, rigid lines that you follow step by step, you're going to get disrupted. And not only that, you're also going to sometimes open with additional extenders that allow for additional plays. So I think in that regard, it really does pay to be, you know, thoughtful and mindful of exactly what you're capable of doing in various different circumstances. Alright, so here I'm going to start by going for the Nightmare Unicorn, just trying to pick off my opponent's back row before I start making a lot of plays here. Opponent's teching Soul of the Supreme King, which I think is really cool and funny. I think that's awesome tech for a Dinomorphia deck. Just like, you know, you want to pay half your life points anyway, and so you might as well get like a 4,000 just general beat stick out of it. So props to my opponent for like putting together, like it's cool. It seems like they put together multiple loner decks in order to make. I wonder if that was the inspiration for my opponent's deck here, but the cool thing is too, I think when I was playing this game, I was in Diamond 3, so like the fact that my opponent is using this cool Dinomorphia deck at such a high rank is also props to them. And again, just shows that, like, as I've said many times, any deck that's even remotely rogue, I think stands a chance of hitting Diamond 1. I think it does, again, it matters, like the pilot and you know, the amount of time you put into the deck are going to be huge factors into that. When I say the pilot, I basically mean, like, you got to be good with the deck, which, like, duh, of course, but, like, skill, you know, player skill, I think, ends up in the long run mattering more than deck power. A lot of people like to, you know, say that, like, oh, it's really easy to win if you just play a tier 1 deck, but that's definitely not always the case, especially if you're playing with a tier 1 deck against other tier 1 decks. Like, you definitely have to be mindful of just generally what you're doing. Anyway, so yeah, the opponent actually had another Supreme King Soul as their last card. So they get to drop Zark, the big scary Fusion Pendulum monster, but it's got all of its effects negated, so it's just a 4,000 beat stick, so not really difficult at all to deal with. I'm just going to go for a Link 2, and then just go for a Nightmare Unicorn, and spin it off the board so we can call it a day. And thankfully I do have one more card left in hand. Although I think I could have just gone for an access code anyway, because the card says it can't be destroyed by card effects, but it's got its effects negated, so obviously that's not going to apply. But yeah, that does it for those duels, so let's go ahead and just go straight to the outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end like this. I very much appreciate it. I also appreciate those of you who are commenting and or subscribing. Also means a lot to me personally, and are great ways to support the channel. Yeah, and I just want to I never know what to say at the end of these videos here. I just want to, like, gush more about the deck usually, which is, I guess, what I'm going to do here. I love this deck. 60-card Dragon Link, like, I always say this. I always say, like, is this my new favorite deck? But, like, I guess it's just how I am with decks. I like to bounce from deck to deck a lot of the time, saying each one is my new favorite. Tri-Brigade will, of course, always be my long-standing favorite, but again, like I said at the beginning of this video, I am very much addicted to Grass. That Grass Looks Greener is a very fun card, and I think playing 60-card decks is actually a very fun practice now that I've done it enough. But yeah, I think that's about all that I've got for this video. So without further ado, this is Sexlex signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.